Hi, my name's Paul Ryder and you're watching Toffee TV.
Welcome to Toffee TV with me, Ped, and with Matt Jones. We're here to discuss Everton versus Spurs, or Spurs versus Everton, obviously, because it's at Hart Lane on Saturday, tea time kick-off. And this is a really big game for Everton, Matt, I think, because I think any game before an international weekend is crucial. A couple of weeks without a game, and obviously we've got the transfer window as well on Tuesday. We need to get something, and obviously getting beat by Man City last week, it's a really important game to get some. But also I think because it's really interesting to test ourselves against a team like Spurs, who we feel like, or we have felt like, we're very much within the same sort of ballpark as us. They do tend to spend a little bit more, and they're getting a new stadium and all those kind of things, but it's almost like a team we measure ourselves on. So I think it'll be interesting to see how we play against them.
Yeah, if you look at the two squads, I don't think there's much between them really, especially in terms of the first 11. Probably be about half and half, to be honest. But yeah, we're going to be hopefully rivaling them for a European place come the end of the season, and it's one of those games where you can lay down an early marker against a positional rival, and that's always good to do. And I think you mentioned there about the mentality going into the international break, and that is going to be so important, because we've got the transfer deadline on Tuesday, and then you've got 2 weeks off either to stew on a poor result or really look forward to that game against Chelsea coming up, and you can kind of dictate the mood for the next fortnight. So yeah, I think it's a game that will suit us the way we've been playing recently. It's a game we can definitely go there and win as well, I think. Not
a brilliant start from Spurs either. Getting beat by Manchester United first game, being 2-0 up against Stoke, and then getting pegged back to 2-2, and then drawing 1-1 with Leicester. So they're desperate for their first win. And you mentioned there, the squad wise, they brought more like defenders in this summer. I know they're looking at like Berahino, and they're looking at a couple of strikers abroad, but Kane, obviously, if Kane's not scoring goals, which I just shouldn't even say anything, should I? I should just not say anything about goals and first of the season, but stop it now. They're not a team full of goals. They've got good players like Lamar and Dembele, but they're not blessed with lots and lots of attackers. And again, you think they like to have the ball a lot, and that could suit us again come Saturday night. If we play a little bit like we did against Southampton, try and play on the break with the pace that we seem to have in the side going forward, that could all fall in our hands.
They remind me a bit of how we were at times last season watching them in the first few games. They're struggling for, while they've had a lot of the ball in undangerous areas, they play themselves into trouble quite a lot. There's no real tempo to the passing. They're struggling for a balance in midfield. I think that the key creative player they've got, Christian Eriksen, seems to be struggling for a little bit of form at the moment, and that in turn is affecting Kane. And this game reminds me a little bit of when we went to Aston Villa at the end of last season, and they were struggling for form a little bit. And I think at the time we said, let's go there and try and make the ground a little bit nervous and get them apprehensive again, because they're still looking for that win.
And we didn't do any of those things.
Exactly. We went there and we were so open, and we just basically surrendered the game in the first half an hour. Exactly, yeah.
Based on that performance.
But I think what we should do is, I think we should go there with attacking players in the team. I think Lukaku, Barkley, Morales and Deulofeu, I'd start all of them. But I would say sit deep.
Yeah.
Invite them onto us.
You'll play Gareth Barry.
But how? I know. I'd still play Gareth Barry, but I'm sure we're going to go on to it. But I'll probably play him at left back, but we'll probably talk about that in a minute. But
that's a shout.
I think that if you look at how good they were going forward against Barnsley, it was a game of stretch, but those four players will put the fright up so many different teams. If you get a counter attack, I know we're still lacking a player who's got that little bit of guile and a little bit of care with the final ball. But if we're going to sit deep and spring with those four, we can cause any team's problems.
Yeah, that's the shout, isn't it? Does Deulofeu start after having such a really good second half performance against Barnsley? Does he start? He looks fit. He looks hungry. We spoke about, I think, on the Man City review, where he was talking about when he was trying to come on as the sub, and he was like saying to the lineman, "Just get me on." He's got a little bit of attitude about him. I think Martinez understands how to use that in a way, and I think he's one of those players who can be like that, where he'll do that, and then he'll be in other games where he does absolutely nothing. And it's finding that balance, and you think, does he start him or does he hold them back for that second half? Because obviously Kevin Morales will be looking for a game now because he's fit, or he looks a lot fitter. So that'll be it'll be very, very interesting what he does. But you can imagine with that kind of pace, Spurs will pegged back to a degree.
I'll definitely get that a favour. I think left back's always been a problem position for Spurs. You always look at the teams and they've always had quite strong in a lot of areas, but I've never been convinced by the left backs they've had down the years. I know they've got Danny Rose, he was okay last season. They've brought the lad in from Swansea, Davis.
Ben Davis, yeah.
And I don't think he's really convinced, to be fair. So I think if you just get him to stay on that right flank, he attracts other players, frees up space for the likes of Ross Barkley. I think just get him on. He's going to be confident after the midweek game. Yeah. He's an instinctive confidence player, so just throw him on.
If we play on the break,
exactly, yeah.
If we play on the break, definitely. I think what you've touched on is interesting. The full-back position, definitely. Obviously, left-back's going to be... Do we play Oviedo after that kind of performance of the night? Because he just wasn't convincing. His fitness wasn't convincing whatsoever. You know, he just looked so off the pace. And you think, yes, he's had a good run out, but I don't know whether he's ready. But on the flip side of it, there's nobody else. There's nobody else. Well, you're saying Gareth Barry, and I suppose, listen, I think Gareth Barry, if you're playing at home and it's the last half an hour like Leicester, brilliant. But I worry, you know, someone like Walker going against them for 90 minutes.
I just think he's a lot more savvy than any other player we've got in that position who could potentially play it at the moment. You mentioned Oviedo. It was his first start since February in that Barnsley game, and you wonder after 120 minutes of football, he looked knackered as it was, so what kind of physical conditions is he going to be in? And even his defensive instincts and his speed didn't seem really up to it. He looked well off the pace, and if you're gonna play someone in there, listen, we are down to the bare bones, and I wouldn't ever condone Gareth Barry playing in that position in any other circumstance. But I just think he's an experienced player. Granted, he's not very quick, he's not very dynamic, but he's played in that position before, probably more than any other player in our squad. I just play him there. Just maybe stick Tom cleverly a little bit deeper in midfield and just say, you come across and cover him, use your legs, use your industry, which we've touched upon already. And we've seen him against Barnsley. He's clever, he's an adaptable player. He can do different jobs, and he's got that tenacity off the ball to run around and the work rate as well.
It's going to be interesting about obviously the whole John Stones situation. You know, yes, he played against Barnsley, but obviously he didn't look very convincing. And you go into a Premier League game, you just wonder whether I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying his future will be sorted, but it might be a little bit more clearer what's going on. Whether, you know, he will be a lot more focused in this game, because again, it's an area of the park we just don't have any cover really. You know, okay, Browning's there, but we just don't have enough cover to really change things.
I think he will be. I think the game against Barnsley was kind of everything coming to a head for him, wasn't it? There was the transfer request. There was another bid from Chelsea that got lodged on Monday and rejected, and it was his old club as well. So it was kind of all the focus for that game was all geared directly towards him. And you know, you could see it when they were coming out on Sky. The camera was on in the wall. Everything was focused towards
all those things.
Everything was focused towards John Stones, and for a 1-year-old lad, that's going to get the it's going to affect them, isn't it? But
definitely.
On Saturday, again, we're away from home. Tottenham, you know, all the media loves to talk about Spurs, don't they? The darlings, aren't they? So the focus probably be off them a little bit, and hopefully with Everton come out and saying that this transfer request has been rejected, he'll just focus on his football now and continue to do so as an Everton player.
Definitely. That's all we can hope for. But yeah, I mean, let's hope we do go out there and we push men forward and we have a real go at them. Again, the way they play could really suit us playing on the counter-attack. I just hope we go there and there's, like, you know, there is that kind of enthusiasm and that grit as well to really have a go, because we've gone to places like too many times like Hart Lane and just gone a goal down and our heads have gone down, or even like last year when we went a goal up and then we just felt a bit because, you know, we just couldn't cope with players running at us.
I can see it being quite similar to the Southampton game in many respects. I think they're in quite a similar predicament at the moment. They've bolstered the defence, but they don't really seem to have any kind of... There's no cohesion there. There's players that are still striking up links. They're not really fully aware of each other's movements. And the midfield, especially at the base of the midfield where they've been playing the two, I think Eric Dier's been playing in midfield for them a lot. So Ross Barkley should be getting all kinds of joy against them and hitting them on the break. And I just think if we go there, we frustrate Tottenham for 20 minutes or nick a goal.
And they're another crowd who get on the team's back, you know what I mean? It showed that against, you know, Spurs against Stoke, they were 2-0 up. and then, you know, suddenly find themselves 2-2, and the crowd can get on their backs very, very quickly. Tell us what you think anyway in the comments on YouTube. Don't forget on Twitter as well, at Toffee TV1. Will we beat Spurs? How will we beat Spurs? Who do we start? Tell us all those things in the comments and on Twitter. Don't forget to subscribe as well. We'll be back next week to discuss the outcome of this game. Obviously, it's transfer deadline week as well. We'll have a few little things going on as well with that. Don't forget to come back soon and watch us on Toffee TV.